Okay, we're live. Okay, so we want to welcome everyone again today to our Facebook Live for IGS. And today is going to be a little bit different. We thought this would be a great time for you guys to meet some of our incoming board members. We have with us Curt Sylvester, and he is going to be taking on president. And then we have Sue Caldwell. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Sue.
That's fine.
And she is going to be taking over vice president. And we also have Rhonda, our past, well, she's still our president.
No, I'm not. Curt took over Saturday.
No, he did take over officially. Okay, Curt's got it.
I'm past president now.
You all see how fast she was to move it to Curt. So before we begin, I'm going to have Rhonda tell us a little bit, kind of a recap of how the conference went this year.
Okay, thanks. Yes, we had the annual conference this past weekend. It was on Friday and Saturday. So it went very well. It was our third virtual conference that we had since COVID forced us to go virtual. So this was our third one. So we kind of got it figured out pretty much now on how to make things work well. So Friday we had some local Indiana speakers, which were very well received. We had Rhonda talking about territorial records, so the records before statehood in Indiana. A lot of people were very excited to know about where to find all those types of records. And we had a wonderful session from Sarah Kirby on finding archives, and we're using the internet to find those hidden places where our records are. Then our third speaker was Allison Dupre Singleton from the Allen County Public Library, who spoke on the 1950 census. And Allison did a very bold move and ditched her presentation and went live to show everybody how to use the NARA site and how to find those records, and got everybody talking and excited about finding their records. So she did an amazing job off the cuff, just looking for things and showing people how to use it. So that was really well. And then we also had Curt Witcher, also from the Allen County Public Library, talking about Indiana as the crossroads of America and the records that are available there. On Saturday, we had David Lambert from the New England Historic and Genealogical Society, who gave us 4 different sessions on New England research. So lots of records there that helped everybody who was attending, since most people came through that New England area, and really gave some ideas of where to find things. We had a great turnout for the conference. We had over 600 people registered for both days. We ended up on both days having over 500 people who attended each day for at least part of the day, 530 some unique users each day. So that was just a wonderful turnout. And we had them from all across the country. I think we had some from overseas as well. So it just a way that people who normally wouldn't be able to attend their conferences were able to attend virtually. And we had a wonderful response. So we appreciate everybody who came and supported IGS. We had a wonderful sponsor, vividpics.com, who sponsored the event. So everything was free for everyone who wanted to attend. So it was no cost. So that was really a wonderful gift from VividPics, and they really supported IGS. So we are still be in the planning stages for next year to decide how that conference will go. So just keep track of our social media and our website, if you're a member, or your member newsletters, to see what's going to happen for 2023.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda. So just kind of a little homework before, well, it's not really homework, but if you guys have any questions during this presentation for either Curt, Sue, or Rhonda, go ahead and post them in the comments. And if you put a Q before it, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer your questions. This is just kind of so everyone can get to know Curt and Sue and feel kind of just a connection. It's nice to kind of, because we don't have that connection to be able to see everybody face to face right now. And so this is kind of this is the next best thing. So what I thought we'll do is we'll start Curt, and then we'll have Sue answer the questions. First, we thought if you each tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you got into genealogy, how you got involved with IGS, and just kind of a little background. Want to go ahead first, Curt?
Okay, thank you. Well, I was born in Southern Indiana, basically because I wanted to be near my mother at the time. And nobody got that one, okay. Yeah. I grew up on a farm and went to school in a very small county township school. I had 31 people in my graduating class. And so everybody in my neighborhood knew everybody, and I just kind of grew up knowing all of my relatives, my ancestors, my great-grandparents, and all of that. I was in the 7th grade before I had a teacher that I wasn't related to. So genealogical research, I guess. So when I looked at the 1950s, I looked at my parents' home and I just went down the road and I go, oh yeah, I remember them, remember them, remember them. So for me, it's always been kind of just a part of life. I went to Indiana University, graduated with my bachelor's degree with a double major in social studies, speech and theater, and a minor in English. So I'm a kind of a type A personality, and so I would figure while I was there, I'd try to get as much out of it as I could. And then I went into teaching. My career has taken me a lot of different places. So I have not only been a teacher, I've been a clergy, I have been a chaplain at the Michigan City State Prison, working with the lifers there. I have been a parole officer, volunteer, so to me, every new opportunity is an adventure to learn something new. I'm the past state president of AARP for Indiana. And so now I'm taking on the state presidency with genealogy. So I've always been interested in history and genealogy, but probably the thing that kicked me the most into this was that my mother died at the age of 101 in 2007. And she had all these things that she had saved. And I've got baker's boxes full of original records, manuscripts, deeds, birth certificates from all my family. And so I found a lot of these things and wondered what I should do with them, and took them to the Allen County Genealogy and met with Curt Witcher there. And when he looked at it, he couldn't believe what he found. And so he showed me how to begin to digitize and all of this. These books back here are the 9 books that I've written thus far on genealogy. 4 of them are on just my brother, who was killed in World War II, long before I was even probably thought about. The review now of all the records that she'd kept on him has been said now to be the single largest record of original documents for any World War II individual. And so we've got all those in the books, and all the originals are now in the vault at the Allen County Library. So that kind of got me started. And from there, I just kept, I started attending the Genealogy Society meetings. And one day I heard about Indiana genealogy, and I called up the then president, Michael Maven, and said, how do I get involved? And here I am. Off to you, Sue.
Okay. Well, I have always enjoyed visiting cemeteries with my mother when I was a kid, attending family reunions, and enjoyed history. So I think it was kind of natural when I grew up that I became interested in genealogy. And after I married my husband, I realized he too was interested. So we started researching about 60 years ago, and we're still researching. I had a career in banking as a chief financial officer, and project management were most of my main jobs. After retirement, I joined the Jasper County Historical Society, and IGS, became a county genealogist. The work at the county museum has been very interesting. The first day that I went up there, I discovered two major collections that they didn't even realize they had. They had copies of all the divorce records in the county from like 1865 to about 1970, and support-related papers. But they also had a collection from the Council of Defense Registration of Women in 1918 and World War I, plus a fantastic series of documents related to that time period, what was going on. So this is just really intrigued my interest in genealogy even more because of the information we were finding on these cards. And then about the same time, we discovered that the first woman who was ever ordained in the United Methodist Church was from Jasper County. She was ordained there and died there and is buried there. And so I've been involved in some fantastic projects in recent years. I am a member of a local DAR chapter, and DAR was one of the beneficiaries of one of the IGS projects. We received a scanner and a computer for them. So some of my friends and I, we copied about 120 files for the IGS website. I hope to get a lot more of that done one of these days. I recently joined the National Society of Daughters of the War of 1812, which, like DAR and IGS, recognizes soldiers, encourages cemetery restoration and the preservation of genealogical materials. So it seems like most of my activities, except for playing cards, are around genealogy. Joining IGS, I worked as a county genealogist, at-large director on the grant committee, and other activities such as assisting and updating our organizational documents. So,
Thank you guys both. So before I ask a question kind of going towards the future, I thought, Rhonda, if you don't mind, kind of looking back, what do you think, besides the pandemic, what do you think the challenges are and how genealogy is changing?
Well, the pandemic was a big one, kind of threw everything just on its head. The things that more people are wanting things online. They're wanting to find things online. They're not wanting to have to go physically someplace. So they're wanting more records online, which of course makes it difficult for an organization who has to create those records, put them online, archive them, store them, make them searchable, that type of thing. That's been a thing coming, I think, probably the last 15 years or so, as the internet really has exploded and the genealogy databases have, the big ancestry and family search and everything there has just really changed the way people do genealogy the last 15, 20 years. So that's been a big change. Really, I think that the interest in genealogy is still there. We're getting some more younger people in, which is great. But then again, we get the people who are coming in new who just are finding all these things on Ancestry. And then all of a sudden they've got a family tree and they think they have the correct information and they don't. So then it gets kind of spread over again. More and more people just copy the same thing, which we were talking earlier before we started. It's been going on since genealogy started, but it's just easier now to do that. And I'm kind of hoping things with the pandemic, everybody kind of had this forced period of kind of shutting down and not going out and doing things, and maybe they kind of started thinking about their family history and they were looking for a project. Maybe they started going through old pictures, or they started cleaning out a closet or a box of stuff that their mother left or their grandmother left, and maybe they kind of started getting interested in researching their family. So I'm hoping that kind of kickstarted something there during the pandemic, and they will keep up with it and continue to do that. But yeah, it's genealogy, you all know, it's a fascinating hobby and it's very addictive, and people get started and then they just keep, like Sue said, they've been doing it for 60 years and they're still doing it. It's a long time project, and so hopefully people just keep that interest and keep doing it. So things have changed, you know, especially since the pandemic, with more virtual things, more options. There's more things for people to do, to learn online, do it from home, a lot of things for free. So it's been a pandemic has been a good thing, I think, for genealogy.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll shift gears back, start with Curt again, and then move on to Sue. So what are your hopes and your vision for IGS going forward from like right now, as you guys take your positions?
Well, Saturday, Rhonda asked me to make an address as the new president that she said I had just become. And I mentioned that I think at the beginning of any new thing, it's kind of like the beginning of our year, January has been named after the god Janus. And this was a god that had a face that looked forward and a face that looked backwards. And I think that what I will be doing first is working with the board as we look backwards over 33 years that the society has existed, celebrate all the things that have been accomplished. It was a exciting time whenever that was formed, because just think if they hadn't have done it 33 years ago, and we were trying to do it today, what it would be like. So we want to build on that foundation. Rhonda and Curt Witcher and Mike Maben and a bunch of others have all given leadership over those years. We need to celebrate all of that. We need to evaluate, okay, we've got this past, what do we build on? And then we need to take a look at the present situation we're in, as you were just mentioning. The pandemic has created a way of people wanting to avoid going out. They feel more comfortable staying at home and thinking they're experiencing things. And I know one person the other day said that they had a friend who said that they had all of these friends on the internet, all their Facebook friends. The person died and the family was shocked that nobody showed up at the funeral. And they said, what happened to all the friends? And I think maybe we're living in a false security of who our friends are, just because somebody likes us or puts a thumb up on something on the internet doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be there for us. And so we're living in what I refer to and other people call the new normal. What is that normal? And I'm a people person, so I hate cameras. I like to look in the eyes of people. So right now I'm not looking up here at this camera. I'm looking at the eyes of the people that are on screen, because that's what I've done all my life, is spoken to people. So I really miss in-person encounters. I really miss going to libraries and going through real records and getting dusty from records that nobody else has looked at for years. So I think then the next part of Janus is the face that looks forward. And that is, what does Indiana Genealogical Society need to do now to best meet the needs for this new normal, for the new generations that are coming on? And that will be the task that I'll be asking the board to work with me.
You want to answer that same question? Do you want me to repeat the question, or Sue?
Well, I wrote down a few things here, and
Okay.
it kind of expands on what he has already said. I mean, we have a website that is new one that's under development. This is a major thing that we have to resolve so that we can get more and more information, because that's the way we're going to be getting it out in the future. So we need to do some serious thinking about that. But we don't necessarily need to throw out some of the good ideas of the past. And one thing that I know when I became a county genealogist that really helped me was the district director met about once a quarter with the genealogist in her district. And it was a wonderful way to exchange ideas. We would go to a different county each month, pick up, see what their collections were, learn about what projects they were doing, what equipment they were using. I'd like to see some of that type of training come back because it was extremely helpful to me. And I think too often we just throw people into these jobs and it's like, oh, what am I supposed to do? And we need another major push to get more county genealogists. I don't know what number we're up to right now, probably 50 some, but we need county.
Right about 49 right now. We had a couple of retirements.
Okay, so we really need to push to get more county genealogists involved. I was also, since I'm on the grant committee, I was thinking about the grants we give for cemetery preservation, for preserving facilities or purchasing equipment or developing genealogical materials. And I hope that we will continue or maybe even expand these helps because so many societies are very short of help. And it does, we need to encourage them to keep working on these different projects. So now that we're in office, Curt and I have to get together and do some more thinking and work with the board and get some ideas down in black and white.
Exactly. So one of the gonna kind of throw you guys off because I didn't talk about this before. One thing that's kind of been a lot of people have been talking about lately is how we can open our doors, and I guess a lot of the younger generations are feeling left out of, because a lot of the societies are built on the older people because originally they were the ones that had the time. And so things are shifting now where the younger generations, even high schoolers, we see are wanting to do genealogy, but IGS not per se, but they want to be included. And I just want to know what your thoughts are on maybe how are we going to be able to open our door for these younger generations so they feel welcomed? Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Either one of you?
Well,
Rhonda too, if you want to.
in Indiana, the elementary age children do genealogical studies of their family. And I had 2 grandchildren who went through that. And but the problem that I had with that was that right now our school boards are going through so much political correctness type issues. And the questions that were asked, and I'm not sure how I can say this without maybe offending somebody, but they didn't really want them to do real research. They just wanted to quick fill in some blanks and make a little chart. And there were children in the classes that said, well, I don't know who my daddy is. I don't know, my grandfather abandoned the family. And so it is bringing up with a lot of people. So I'm thinking that the whole thing of doing younger children and stuff, it would be great for us as a genealogical society, but I think probably it really needs to be done more at the county levels where the librarians are working with them on these levels. And I know a lot of libraries have children coming in all the time, and the librarians spend a lot of time with the kids. But you've also got to recognize that sometimes you're doing more than just finding facts, you're finding a lot of emotional stuff to deal with. And I'm not sure just where and how that best resolves itself in a society that we have today.
Yeah, well, and that was another issue that was brought up is you have some families that they have 2 moms, and they came from, how they had to come to be, but we have to somehow figure out how to integrate that into our genealogy where we include those types, because it is a sensitive subject. And a lot of people, especially the younger kids, don't want to touch that yet. And so I have found when I've worked with fourth graders in the genealogy program that, yeah, you run into that where, well, we can only do half your tree. And so you're right. Do you have any thoughts on that, Sue?
No, but I was just thinking, I think in the last few years, we've found 5 members of Jim's family born out of wedlock. So, I mean, these are issues, though, that anyone who does genealogy is going to have to face and be willing to accept what is.
Right.
But we are reaching out to the younger people, I think, with some of our, Rhonda could tell more than I do, because I don't watch all of the things that we put out there for the younger people, but the Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. That's one of the best ways we can reach younger people.
Right. And well, and they're finding too, I had read a study where they're finding that actually high schooler and college level kids are connecting to history more when they know who their ancestors were, because they have that personal connection. And so I had read that that's changing too. Did you have any thoughts, Rhonda, on this subject?
Well, just, like what Sue said, we have increased our social media thanks to John Marie's really doing that, which it connects with a different group of people than what we would do with our member newsletter or something like that. And with the way social media works, somebody may just happen upon a post because it was tagged with something that they're interested in. So you never know who's going to find your site and then maybe find some more information. And it also, going along with what Curt said, and the broken families and not knowing who your ancestors are, your parents, that is all changing with genetic genealogy. And as more and more people start to try to find that out, well, I want to know who my grandfather was because I never knew him. They can do that now.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of time, but I mean, you can do that. And it also brings up a lot of people who were just doing, oh, I got a DNA test for Christmas, and all of a sudden they find out their parent is not who they thought it was, or they have a sibling that they didn't know about. And so it can bring, like Curt said, a lot of emotional baggage with that. But it's something that more and more people are kind of just getting into, just because I took that DNA test to find out how Irish I am, and all of a sudden something came up that I didn't know about. And then they start trying to figure that out. So there's several ways that new people are kind of coming into it. Maybe not just because I want to study my ancestors, it's because I got to solve a mystery. And so it's coming to a lot more people that way. Yeah.
I think that, all aspects of when I started doing genealogy, the people I was talking with and getting training from, everything was basically from I will call it the Norman Rockwell family understanding of life. It was mom, dad, 2.5 kids, grandma lived down the street, and everybody went to church, and everybody wore hats and gloves to church, and everything was wonderful. And now one of the things I've been trying to figure out from the people who are writing the software for doing your family trees, how are we going to do, because you got this tree that goes up bing, bing, bing like this, but when we get back and we find that there's an adoption, then the person says, well, I want to know my family that I know, which is my adopted family, but now I want to also know my biological family. And that's getting more and more complex on that tree to find that out. And then as one person told me, I discovered that my aunt is really my mother. That my parents that I thought were my parents are really my grandparents. And whenever my mother became pregnant, they adopted the child, and everybody just assumed. And she says, now all these years I've been calling this person my aunt, and now I find out she's my biological mother, and now I found out who the biological father is. there's a lot of issues that come out of all of this. So what used to be a fun venture probably puts many of us now, when we're doing presentations, find ourselves to almost becoming counselors and people that are trying to help people get through some very emotional things. Like Rhonda said, what turned out as a nice Christmas gift may have raised more questions. And then there's a family that doesn't want to deal with the issues. And you go to grandma and you say, what about this? And grandma says, well, we can't talk about that. That's a family secret. And so.
Yeah, there's no more secrets anymore. Yeah, because I have a third great grandfather, and was born out of wedlock, and there's 3 possible fathers in the court records. But now, like, I can actually go back and actually solve it, where it's changing all the course of history. I mean, we even see history articles about some famous princes and stuff that weren't actually supposed to ever be in the line to be king or that. So
Right.
It's definitely changing it.
It is.
So, I mean, we've kind of answered everything. Is there anything else you would like to talk about, Curt?
Well, I mentioned to you earlier that probably there's going to be people confusing me with Curt Witcher.
Yeah.
With 2 people now in genealogy in Indiana having the same first name, so I'm not sure how we always, that if Curt said this, we need to figure out which Curt said it. And so, but for those in the know, most of them are going to know the difference between us, but others may not, and could get us confused. I know I went out to speak to a group and they introduced me as the director of the Allen County Genealogical. I said, whoa. No, I'm a member of the Allen County Genealogical Society. And then they said, aren't those the same thing? And so I found out that people don't know the difference sometimes between societies and genealogy centers. And so it gets confusing. And so just want to make sure everybody knows that there are differences.
So when you go to email, you make sure you use the president, because you're getting the president email now, right? Correct. So anyone can reach out to you that way.
If we work that out, right, Rhonda?
Yeah, you should be doing that. I think Susan's working on that tonight. So I'll be forwarding things. There is a new president email that is on the website. So if you send things to that, that'll go to Curt. If it comes to the old email, I'll forward things on to Curt. But yeah, the new contact emails are up on the website, so you can.
And I will just say, up front, if you get an email from me asking for donations for anything, cards or whatever, I will never ask for that, as Rhonda has never asked for that, but we do get those little
spam emails, yes.
that come through. And so I found out that Rhonda was on trips a lot and away from her computer and away from her phone and needed my help, but
you get Amazon gift cards right now.
yes.
Sue, did you have anything you would like to share?
No, other than that, we're just looking forward to a fantastic year.
We're looking forward to seeing what you guys bring to IGS.
Right.
And Rhonda, as outgoing,
I
any words of advice for them?
Words of advice. We have a great board, and they're very supportive, and they're very knowledgeable, and they're quick to give their thoughts and support. So it was been a very good 5 years I was president. Curt went over and changed the bylaws, so I ended up with an extra year. It's only been 4 years, but I ended up with 5. But so it's been a good experience. And that was one of the things when Michael approached me about running as president, and I asked about the board and are they staying on, and they were. So it was like, okay, I'll give it a try. But the board is great. We've got great people with different backgrounds and levels of genealogy experience, and experience with virtual programming and computers and everything there just to kind of back you up. So it's not, Michael told me it was, yeah, well, it's not real hard to be president. You might think about IGS a little more. And I think, Michael, I think you kind of undersold it a little bit. But
Really?
It's been very interesting. I've enjoyed it. And I'm sure Michael, Sue and Curt will as well, as they learn the new roles and get things turned over. And I'm happy to stay on as the board as past president, so I can, all the things I've forgotten to tell Curt when we have our meeting and transfer things officially, everything over to him that I'm sure I've forgotten to tell him that he needs to do. But we will, we'll be there to support each other. So it's been a great experience. It's a great group, and I've enjoyed working with them.
I
I'd
would
like
just,
to say that she has done a fantastic job for the last 5 years.
Oh,
So
thank
thank
Definitely.
you, Rhonda.
I would just say that Rhonda mentioned that we redid the bylaws and brought together all the records, and it's still a work in progress as we are speaking right now. That I've got stuff in front of me here that we're working on. But in going through all the job descriptions, the one thing I did not find a job description for was the immediate past president. So I'm writing out that job description,
Okay.
and we'll be
I
sharing
thought,
it with
okay, I have an
Rhonda.
easy job here. I'm just attend the board meetings and say, oh yeah, this is why we did.
Well, you're going to be more than just a pretty face, okay?
Oh, okay. So,
And the I've always been a team worker. I've always worked in a way that I think you do more together than you do separately, and so I always depend on the wisdom and counsel of the persons who have been around. I was on the phone today with another person on the board and saying, okay, how do you understand this? And I've said this, Rhonda and I've been in communication, Sue and I've been in communication. I really want to have some one-on-ones with our different people. I looked at the names of all the people that are on there, and I recognize that there's a lot I've never met in person, particularly with this bringing on new people since. And so I'm asking for us to have our first board meeting in person. I know some people are going to pass out at that, but I really want to see people. I want to know people. I'm a people person. I already told you that. But I think the thing that I enjoyed about going to the IGS conferences, well, it was okay to listen to the speakers, but I learned so much during the breaks, networking with other people, asking how are you dealing with this? How are you dealing with that? And that just doesn't happen in Zoom meetings. I'll give you a share. I don't think I mentioned that for the past 5 years, she got stuck 5 years as president. I got 5 years as recording secretary. And so, like I say, I called Michael Maben and just said I was interested. Is there anything to do? And so we had a meeting in Bloomington, and I drove down there, and because that's my home county, and he happens to be there with Indiana University Library. And we talked, and so I became the recording secretary. Went to my first board meeting in Plainfield, and I didn't know anybody at the table. So I went in, sat down, and I was just sitting there being quiet and waiting for the meeting to start. And there was a lady sitting next to me, and she was talking to the lady next to her, and I overheard her saying, oh, I'm really having struggles trying to find information about my great-grandfather and and okay. So I thought, okay, this is kind of interesting. And then she mentioned the last name of the grandfather. And before I even thought of it, I just said, are you talking about so-and-so? And she said, yeah, how do you know that? And I said, well, he's my great-grandfather. And that's when we discovered that Donna Adams and I are cousins. And then across the way, there was another person, and I discovered that her husband and I are cousins. And so I always enjoyed going to the board meetings because I enjoyed the people, but I also got to see new cousins I'd never met before. And I think that that's part of the fun of genealogy, is that extended family, whether we're actually related or not. We are all a part of the family of researchers, and that gives us some commonality.
Absolutely. Here's something that, if you're comfortable answering, can you kind of let people know, since we have a large platform here, about ways they can volunteer and the reason why it's important to have volunteers? I mean, we already know we need county genealogists, but what are other ways, like writing articles and different ways that people can volunteer and be a part of IGS?
Well, I would just say that Sue and I have talked, and I think Rhonda and I have talked, and the board has talked. But one of the positive aspects, I think, of the Indiana Genealogical Society that's already there is the framework for being a statewide networking. And we need to get that county genealogist. And right now, it's very difficult to know, okay, how do I get a county genealogist in so-and-so county, because I don't even know those people yet. And so we're all going to have to get our heads together and figure out how to do that. I'm going to try to go on a world tour here and try to do some recruiting. But if we had at the county level someone, you know, and I think everyone sits back and goes, oh, I don't know enough to do that. Well, if we waited on people to know what they were doing, we'd never have anybody in any office. I mean, just look at the people that run for political offices. After they've been in there for a while, we know they don't know what they're doing. And so we get in there and we learn on the job in many ways. And that's why I think Sue was mentioning that we need to do that training. Here is what we're really looking for, and we'll help you do it, and we'll go get other people. I would really like to see the county genealogist working with the local genealogical or historical societies in that county, working with the librarians, particularly those that are doing genealogy, and any other organizations in the area, making relationships with funeral homes. One of the things that I know that Allen County is doing now is the funeral homes are providing the little cards that have the biographies of the people on them when you go into a funeral home and you walk away with the little flyer. Every month they're providing those. We're making contacts with people who are helping with people who are downsizing, people who are going into maybe an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent's home and having to clean it out after a death. The funeral home is saying to them, now I know Aunt Mabel just died or Grandpa just died. If you find a lot of old pictures and stuff that you don't know what to do with, here's some information, call these people and they will come and get it. And every county could be doing that and beginning to bring resources in. Rhonda's done a great job on getting volunteers to unfold and do all kinds of things. Well, we may need volunteers to go through that which is acquired from Aunt Bertha's house after the friends came in and cleaned it out. We could have people scanning. As was mentioned earlier, IGS has provided scanners for a lot of places. Get that information scanned and get it digitized, get it indexed. If they have no place else to put it, hopefully someday we will have a website that will be welcoming all that information. And working with the county commissioners, we had a county up here next to us who they were just throwing stuff out of the courthouse into a dumpster, and one person walking by said, well, can I have it? And they said, yeah, and so we saved that. It's just getting somebody on the local level who can keep us informed and all that, and then the district directors can work with those people. And so I just see it as a networking. Local churches, there are so many of them that have all kinds of records, but nobody ever looks at them because they just think they're old. And if we could get in and get those digitized, and so those are, I guess, some of the things that I see that the future could be. It's a big task, but it's like eating an elephant. You just do it one bite at a time.
Okay, thank you. I haven't really come across any questions yet. Let's see. So kind of for to get ready to start closing here soon. What do you see is the biggest challenge for genealogy for IGS? What do you think your biggest challenge is? You probably already answered it, but.
Well, I didn't answer all your other question. I don't think either. I got off on the volunteers at the local county level and district, but I think people doing research and being able to write what they're finding. For me, I know people who say, I've done all this research, but I don't know what to do with it. And so I'm saying, well, at least mark it. And if you drop over dead, when somebody comes in and, say, give it to the local genealogy society or give it someplace so that it doesn't get thrown out. But we really, I think, need to help people go from the research to where it's accessible for other people who could benefit from that same research. And so a lot of training programs, I probably as a genealogical society, we could probably promote writing seminars, even if it's virtual like this, and helping people to take all of that. So I think there seems to be a feeling among many people that I'm not important and anything that my family's done is not important. And that's not true. And you may have the one little piece of information that somebody out there has been looking for, but you found it. But if you keep it hidden in that 3-ring binder where you've handwritten everything, that isn't letting everybody else sharing that. The other things that I guess would be getting the word out to people that preserving our past is really the future. And one of the things that Curt Witcher has said in many of his presentations, and one of the things that I strongly believe is that I think when we're looking for our great-grandmother, if she had written down everything she did in her life as a diary and put all the pictures and named everybody in it, we would say, what a wonderful lady she was. And my question is, are we doing that for our future generations? Why aren't we writing our own history? Well, because we don't think we're important, okay? Well, sometime a great-grandchild is going to wish that we had thought we were more important than we think we are. And so I am doing that for my grandkids. I'm writing my history. I've taken all my pictures from 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. I've got the pictures there of the teacher, and I'm putting in the notes as I'm putting it into the word processor, that the teacher is my second cousin, and stuff that those kids would never know unless I share that with them in the future. And so my grandkids are in junior high right now, and they sometimes roll their eyes when I'm sharing this stuff with me, but every so often my grandson comes and says, hey, Grandpa, I've got this project. I'm supposed to do something on a famous Hoosier. Who of our family is a famous Hoosier? And so he did Hoagie Carmichael, who's one of his cousins. And so they are beginning to realize that there are people in their family that they can go back. My granddaughter went to school and had great fun when she learned that George Washington was one of her distant cousins. So our summer trip, we hope this year we'll be able to go visit our cousin's house out at Mount Vernon. So, but I think that's the kind of things you want to do with when you talk about doing with younger people is help them see the connection with the past. I probably talk more than you want me to. Okay.
You're good.
Curt, that does bring up an excellent point, because just the other day when I was in a swimming class exercising, one of the women was talking about the fact that she didn't have family photos because her kids use the digitalized cameras They have them on their computer, but they never print them off. And chances are when those people die, those pictures are going by the wayside and nobody will ever see them. We're losing a lot of history and in fact, we think we're preserving it.
We're going to have no letters to read from grandma to the kids because it's all email and text. Okay.
Yeah, we've got to figure out we've got the past, we've got to preserve what we're experiencing right now for the future generations. So it's definitely a challenge.
I'll just say another one of my personal things is I'm just appalled at the number of people now who are dying with no funeral services. No obituaries being printed in the papers. They're just non-existent. And that's really sad that, that somebody sometimes is going to go, all of us are digging out the obituaries and helping doing that. And it's just not happening now. And I said to someone not too long ago, how's your wife? And he said, oh, she died last year. And I go, I didn't know that. We were classmates. And he said, well, she didn't want any big to do. Well, I just felt empty because here was somebody that I knew and had never been informed. So I guess, family and keeping the past alive is so much part of who I am. That's kind of why I'm going to enjoy doing what I'm doing.
Thank you. Sue, what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge in your position?
Oh, I haven't even thought about that. I don't know, just the time to do everything. I don't know. I just want to see, the main thing to me is seeing what we can do to get more information out there for people so that people will continue to use our resources.
Absolutely. Okay, and there's some chatter, but I don't see any questions. So that's pretty, anyone can ask any questions at any time. And even after the presentation, you can view this recording as well. Any final thoughts, Curt?
No, we just hope everybody, if you're interested, will let us know. And we would like to talk to you about getting involved at the local level, state level, whatever it is where you're interested in, or if you've got questions. We've got a lot of people that have a lot of interesting wisdom throughout the state and beyond, but I think they can all help you find ways to preserve your family's histories.
Sue, any final thoughts?
Just thank you all for listening and hope you keep attending these sessions because they're fascinating. Yeah. Thank you.
And Rhonda?
I just want to wish Curt and Sue good luck and to enjoy their terms as president and vice president. And I will be happy to support you in every way that I can.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. And quickly before next month, we are going to be having Judy Baker, and she is going to be talking about the county poorhouse records, which I know has been a big request. So we will be having that next month. And this video will be available to watch. And as I said, you guys can get a hold of any of them. You can find it on the websites. And if Rhonda happens to get it, she'll forward it to Curt. And I believe that is it. Thank you all for those that have been able to watch. And we'll see you guys next month.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Good night.